Okay, guys, today we are going to be doing modeling and solving equations and inequalities and graphing those solutions on a number line. Okay, so first we're going to start with an equation. And an equation is a statement that sets two terms equal to each other. A variable is used to represent an unknown quantity and is represented by a letter. Usually we use the x to represent that. Okay. Okay. A coefficient is the number attached to the variable, and a constant is a term represented by a number all by itself. Okay. And to solve these equations, so they're going to look like this. 3x plus 4 equals 7. So that's an equation. We want to isolate the variable, so we want to make sure the variable is by itself. So we do that by adding or subtracting the constant, the number that's by itself, first. Okay. And then I multiply or divide by the coefficient, the number that's with the variable. Usually we're going to divide them. Okay, and then that's my answer. To graph it, I'm going to graph it on a number line. So wherever that number is, I'm going to put a dot on the number line there, and that's my solution. Okay, so we're going to find the solution and graph the solution to this equation. So we have 2x plus 10 equals 28. So I always draw a line down the equal sign to separate the two, because what I do on the left side, I need to do on the right side. So I'm going to subtract 10 because that's my constant, and I'm adding, so I need to subtract. Those cancel out, and I'm left with 2x on this side, and 28 minus 10 gives me 18. Okay, and then this is the coefficient attached to the variable, so I'm going to divide by 2. Divide by 2. I'm left with x here because 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 18 divided by 2 is 9. So my solution is x equals 9. And to graph that, I'm going to put it on here. This is a blank number line, so I'm just going to put 9 wherever I want to, and then put a dot there. And that's how we do it, guys. For inequalities, it's essentially the same, but we use different symbols than the equal sign. So an inequality is a statement that uses less than. That's this symbol right there. Greater than. That's this symbol here. Less than or equal to. That's this one. Has a little line under the less than symbol. Or greater than or equal to. And that's the same. Greater than symbol with the line under it. To compare. So we're comparing these expressions. Compare two different expressions. Okay, we do the same thing when we're solving for them. We want to add or subtract the constant. Let's do 3x plus 4 is less than 7. Okay, I'm going to make this negative. Okay, I'm going to still add or subtract the constant. So this is addition. So I'm going to subtract. And then I multiply or divide by the coefficient. So I'm going to divide here because it's multiplying. Okay. So I come out with -1 here because I divided by a negative. So notice it says if the coefficient is negative, so whatever number I multiply or divide by, this number with the x is negative, then the inequality symbol needs to flip. So instead of less than, I'm going to put a greater than here. Okay. Same thing on our line. When we graph it on our number line, I'm going to have it at -1. So I'm gonna put a solid dot if it's a less than or equal to or greater than or equal to. So it has to have that line underneath if it's a solid dot. If it's less than or greater than, then we're gonna do an open dot. So we're gonna put a little open dot there, okay? And then we have to shade in the direction it's pointing. So if this is less than, I'm gonna shade to the left. And if it's greater than, I'm gonna shade to the right. So that's greater than, it's pointing to the right. So I'm gonna shade in this direction. Okay, and that's how I graph my inequalities. So let's do an example. What is the solution set for this inequality? So same thing, I'm going to solve it just like I did with my equations. Draw that line. We're adding 40 here, so I need to subtract 40. Subtract 40. Negative 16 minus 40. So a negative minus a positive, I'm going to add those two because they're both negatives. So I'm going to end up with negative 56. And I'm left with negative 8x on this side. And then I'm going to divide by negative 8. Divide by negative 8. And I get x. And negative 56 divided by negative 8. A negative divided by negative is positive. So it gives me positive 7. And I divided by a negative 8. So I'm going to flip the sign from a greater than to a less than. So my answer is x is less than 7. So I'm going to put 7 here. It's a less than, not less than or equal to. So it's going to be an open dot on the line. And then it's less than, so it's shaded to the left. So we're going to shade it to the way direction it's pointing. And that's how we do that. Okay. Our last part of this is modeling. So a model is used to represent an equation or an inequality. Okay, with different shapes. So when we want to do this, we want to count the number of shapes that represent the variable on the left. And we're going to write that as however many there are next to the x. So however many x's are, I'm going to write there. So if I count 3 x's, I'm going to write 3x. Then I'm going to count the number of shapes that represent the constant on the left and then just write that as the number plus whatever that number is. Count the number of shapes that represent the constant on the right and then write it out as an equation. Okay, we want to pay attention to what things are negative, and we want to pay attention to what our variables are. So you should have the number of variable shapes plus the number of constant shapes equals our number of constant shapes. So I'm going to write out the equation here. So write the equation. So I'm going to first count how many variables I have. So if you see, these squares are labeled as x. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to write 3x because I have 3 x's. And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 circles that are 1. So I'm going to put plus 6. If these were negative, I would put minus 6, but they're plus, so I'm going to do that. If there's no inequality symbol here, then they're equal. Usually when they have scales like this, that means they're equal. Okay? And I'm going to count how many are on this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And that's a 9. Okay? And then I solve just like I do normally on the other ones. Subtract 6 because I'm adding 6 there. 9 minus 6 is 3. I'm left with 3x here. And I'm going to divide by 3. Divide by 3. So my answer ends up being x equals 1. And that's all we got to do. If you have any questions, let me know, guys. You know how to get a hold of me. You guys have a great day. Thanks. Bye.